Is a shiur on Tefilla about starting Tu Beshevat. Tu Beshevat is a very special day in the calendar of the Israel. It's a time for a lot of things, for davening and praying. Especially Chazal tell us we should daven for Etrog. Etrog is the heart of the Israel. It's davening and praying for our spiritual matzav and situation. Now it's a question that where does that come from? How come Tu Beshevat gets such enormous power? Now the Mishnah says that this Rosh Hashanah Le'Ranot, it's the beginning of the year for Le'Ranot, according to Tefilla, the Rosh Hashanah for Le'Ranot is Tu Beshevat. Now this time that the trees fed up, in other words, during the winter, as to speak, the trees go to sleep, and when the weather gets hot, they're gonna be waking up, and that's the time from Tu Beshevat, starting the root of the trees to get up. Now it's interesting if you have a day to celebrate the fruits and make bracha and thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for all of the fruits that they are. Maybe one would think during the spring that the trees are much nicer, there are blossoms, there are fruit on the trees, would have been much better than the winter, especially in the East Coast. You see there is nothing, there is no green, everything is dead. Well, how come Chacham tell us to make the blessings on the fruit on Tu Beshevat? Because Chachamim are teaching us a very important lesson in life. Chachamim are telling us if you want a good fruit, when the tree is blossoming, when the tree is green, at that time it's too late to work on the fruit. From the time that the root of the tree is awakened and the roots are building up, at that time is the best time to think about the fruit. And such an enormous lesson in chinuch. We want to be mechanech our children, we want to train them well. When do we start? From childhood, from the time that they're very young, from the time that they're root. At that time, you could build them up. But when you wait too long, it becomes very late. Then it's already made up, and it's very hard to make. Now, Mitzad Kabbalah, they explain that this day has some other sekulot also, unbelievable. Just like physicality, the trees, they awaken and the root becomes awakened to create the fruits and to create the vitality of life. Now we know that there's a machloket. When did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create the world? Did he create Tishri or Nisan? Now Rabbeinu Tam says that there's no really machloket. One is in actuality, which is Tishri, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created in actuality. Rosh Chodesh Nisan is machshava, thought of creation, the thinking of the creation came about. Now it's interesting that if Adam Harishon in thought was created on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, that means to say from 25th of Adar, creation started. Now the Kabbalah tells us, just like embryo takes 40 days to form, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided the thought of the Bria to come about, 40 days before was the conception of the Bria, was the first thought, first motivation, first awakening of the Bria. Now, creation. Now, if you count 40 days before 25th of Adar, becomes Tu Beshevat. Tu Beshevat is the time that the first motivation of the thought of the Bria came about. That's why this day is very important. Just like in physicality, the trees start growing on this day, the world start growing, start getting shape up, getting its own vitality, existence. And imagine how powerful this day is. The day that the first motivation, first thought, conception of the world came about. Therefore, it's a day that we could daven and pray, and we could make a difference in our service. Person would imagine, would have a dream. Is it possible that I could change myself? I could change my tikkun, I could change to become a better person. Other person, sometimes the person has a very bad habit, very bad way of life, and he wants force change. It's a dream of his life. That is it possible to make the change? Now, Tu Beshevat is a time because that first thought, first motivation of the creation came about. That's very much prepared for a person to change himself, to make a better person out of himself, and to become a better person for himself, for society.